All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another division preview. James, there, how you doing today?
I am good. It's Monday,
It
which
is
sucks.
Monday.
Whatever.
Today, I had the day off, and it felt like just a Monday. Just I felt like it was dragging. Just felt like a long day, and I didn't even do anything
That,
today.
that it was. I had a long day and I did a bunch of things. So
Yeah. All right, so today we have my division, the NFC North. This is why I'm rocking my Packers gear.
gonna be mad.
What's that?
Gonna be mad at me.
I had a feeling, but let's go ahead and do it. This is really the first division where I think we could have entirely different 4-1 or 1-4.
Should we do 4-4-3-3-2-2-1-1 though?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, so your last team in the division. I'm curious to see who you have.
All right. I really want to start out by saying that this is, in a very sneaky way, going to be one of the best divisions in football.
It usually always is. It's definitely one of the most competitive.
But I think even their fourth place team is going to be hovering around 7-9, 500. I think they're going to be that good. Fourth place, I do have the Bears. They're the only team without a guaranteed quarterback. They still, that right there will put them in fourth place, and they're also still like in the process of building the roster.
Yeah.
I really do like where the Bears are headed, though. I'm telling you, maybe 3 or 4 years, because I believe in Mitch Trubisky. A lot of other people don't, because he didn't really have that stellar of a rookie season. But I think it's all there. All the tools are there. They put an offensive coach there. Trying to get some weapons around him and things like that. He has a good running game to lean on. Like he's got some things going for him over there that are going to help him out. I like where this team is headed, but I still do have them in fourth place right now. I'm assuming you have the same, but you might have the you know who. So
No, I do have the Bears. I hear what you're saying. This is a team that I won't be shocked if they're close to 500. I do like the coaching hire, Mike Nagy. I like what they did this offseason, bringing in Allen Robinson, Trey Burton, Taylor Gabriel, and then drafting Roquan Smith, James Daniels, and Anthony Miller with their first 3 picks. It's really going to depend a lot on Trubisky.
it all depends on that. All of it, because they drafted well. I think
they've drafted well like the last few years.
I love that they got Roquan. I feel like I mocked him there every time I did a mock draft, so worked out well.
Yeah, like you said, it all relies on him. And my rule is generally if it's after 2 years and you don't see much improvement,
it's not there.
It's not there. He's not going to work out. So this year's going to rely a lot on him. But like you said, they have some pieces that work for him. A very good run game with Jordan Howard. Decent weapons on the perimeter. I wouldn't go as far to say it's anything special, but decent. Allen Robinson's talented. I like Anthony Miller. Taylor Gabriel's a nice deep threat. Trey Burton was in Philly. Very good number 3 tight end. I think he could easily be a number 2.
No, he could be a number 1 in a lot of receiving wise. He can't block, but he's a very good pass catcher. He has very, very sure hands. He actually makes some really tough catches. He had like 6 touchdowns last year, and like 3 of them were contested. So he's not a bad weapon.
And offensive line wise, very underrated. Solid. They're not, when you think of the best offensive line in the NFL, you think Dallas, maybe Oakland, Tennessee, Philadelphia, but Chicago, I would argue, might be top 10 in the league.
No, for sure. They're 100% top 10. I would give them that all day. And
then defensively, pretty good front seven. I like what their personnel defensively. They got Vic Fangio. Very underrated secondary as well. 2 very good safeties, Adrian Amos and Eddie Jackson. Kyle Fuller at corner. Very, very underrated secondary. For sure. And but again, this relies a lot on Trubisky's development. We'll see what Mike Nagy can do. Some tough road games here, though. At Green Bay, at Arizona, at Miami, and then at the Giants, at San Francisco, at Minnesota. Obviously, the road games in the division. I'm not as high on them as you, and it's nothing to do with because I hate the Bears. I'm not ready to see it. I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet.
Okay. I just feel like I think Trubisky's going to have a really good sophomore year, and if he doesn't, they could literally win 3 games. Yeah. But I think he'll have a Carson Wentz-ish second-year jump. I don't think it'll be an MVP candidate, but I do think
that's an interesting question to ask. Which of those quarterbacks that were rookies last year do you think has a Carson Wentz type jump?
If Deshaun Watson,
that's an obvious one.
I don't think there's even a jump, but I think Mahomes. I like all.
Technically, he's still a rookie.
I really do like all three of those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I genuinely do. I think they're all three going to be pretty good. I know Mahomes is going to be good because Andy Reid's been working with him for 2 years right now. Yeah. He's going to come in and just be tossing the skin. I can't wait.
That could work out well, but like I've said to you, I got to see it first. So third place, no surprise, I have the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Honest to goodness, James, if it weren't for Matt Stafford, this would be one of the worst teams in the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Stafford fan, but I just look at this.
I
like him, but I like him, the guy. He's a good quarterback, but if it weren't for him, this would be a bottom 5 team in the NFL, I think. They don't have a run game. We'll see what happens with Kerryon Johnson. They have a subpar offensive line. It's not anything special. TJ Lang's okay. He's getting up there in age, though. Taylor Decker has been pretty good at left tackle. The one thing they do have is decent wide receivers. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, they're okay. But defensively, there's no one on this defensive line worth a damn except Ziggy Ansah.
Mm-hmm. They do have Slay.
Slay's pretty good. Their linebackers, Gerard Davis is okay. Darius Slay's pretty good, but if it weren't for Stafford, I would easily pick this team to be fourth in the division.
Same.
Yeah.
Same, but I think he'll push them to a very similar record, around an 8-8 again. So.
I agree. All right, so second place, I already know because you said it. I'm not going to like it, but go ahead.
Got the Packers, man. Just, dude, I could go on a 15-minute rant about the Packers organization right now, and you get pissed at me. But I do kind of like what they did this offseason. I really hate that they got rid of my boy Jordy like that.
I think everyone else is more upset about that than I was.
Jordy Nelson is the type, not even necessarily because of his talent, but him and Rodgers were so on the same page that, like, Jordy Nelson could still get open with Rodgers as his quarterback when he's in his, like, mid-30s, just because Rodgers would put it in the exact spot, at the exact break, at the perfect time. Like, you just should have kept him. The Jimmy Graham move, I liked. I didn't like how much you paid for him, but I told you guys.
It's very favorable that this first year.
But if you remember me saying, I was like, dude, you guys have to go get free agents, go spend money on free agents. So I can't really like nitpick there. You went and got a
I understand what you mean, but my point was this is basically a prove it year. Yeah. We gave him like $6 million, go prove it, and then these next 2 years, I think he gets closer to 10
catch over 10 touchdowns. I think he'll catch over 10 touchdowns. I loved the 2 cornerbacks you guys drafted. I think you guys picked your Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown for the next 6 or 7 years. On each side, I really like both of them if they can stay healthy.
Don't forget about Kevin King already there.
Alexander is a perfect shutdown corner, and I think Josh Jackson is a perfect number 2. Obviously, Clinton Dix is a beast. I still think you guys need to invest a little more on the D-line, and that is where I will give the Vikings the edge on you guys. I think the D-line needs a little work. If you don't even really need to give Rodgers a really good defense, you need to give him a really good D-line. So I think that's where the money should be spent, and the draft pick should be spent the next couple of years, because we got some good defensive line drafts coming out. Listen, I think the Packers are going to have an amazing season. I just think the Vikings are going to do something similar to what they did last year is all.
I mean, I'm not even going to argue with you about defensive line. The Vikings are top 3 or 5 defensive line unit in the NFL. I'm not going to dispute they're worse than the Vikings in that area, but it's not like it's a bad defensive line.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But yes.
No.
Are you done?
No.
You're not done?
I'm not.
All right, keep going then about how Green Bay is going to perform poorly.
They're going to be fine. They're going to do exactly what they do every time Aaron Rodgers is healthy. They're going to win 11 games. I just don't think that's going to be enough to win that division. They'll be a wild card team. And once you get in there, I definitely don't see the Vikings beating the Packers in the playoffs.
All right, so my second place team is the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think that's a huge surprise to anybody. I look at it this way. They were arguably the team that won the offseason. They got Kirk Cousins. They got Sheldon Richardson. 2 big splashes in free agency. They didn't have a terrible draft. I like Mike Hughes and I like Brian O'Neill, their first 2 picks. The one thing I think that, or 2 things I think that this team should be worrisome about is Cousins coming into a new situation with a new coordinator, just a new coordinator in general for Minnesota. I think this is their second. Overrated. What?
I can tell you from playing him 2 times a year, Kirk Cousins is the type of player. There's players like this in every sport. And I don't even know how it works. There's not an exact science to it, but there's players who can just stuff the fuck out of a stat sheet, but they just don't win games.
Stafford and Cousins are 2 of them.
It doesn't contribute to the games they're winning. Kirk Cousins threw for like 4,800 yards the other year, and the team didn't do that well. Like, I don't know if he's the type of player who gets a lot of passing yards in like garbage time, or maybe they're down a lot and he always has to throw, or like, I don't know what it is, but Kirk Cousins will have a great season on the stat sheet. It's not going to contribute to that team's wins. It's just not. That's just the type of player that he is. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I hear you. But so you got I'm a bigger Kirk Cousins fan than you. You got a good quarterback, a solid quarterback, but it's a new situation. He's got to build a new relationship with these teammates and a coordinator in a short time span this offseason. It's not like he was there the entire offseason. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he's got to build that very quickly here in these next few weeks. Number 2, I think Dalvin Cook, star running back, coming off a knee injury. You never know how that's going to pan out. But, we're pretty advanced in today's medical field. I think he'll be okay. But just you never know. Offensive line is okay. It's nothing special. I think it honestly really overperformed last year. So we'll see how they do this year. Defensively, I mean, they're stacked. I'm not disputing any of that, especially at corner, defensive line. I mean, they're just loaded. The one thing, though, I think to watch out for this team is I don't remember any of these dudes being injured last year.
No, Shane, nobody on that entire defense got hurt, and that won't happen again. I was just going to say that. I think the healthier team out of – because I can't sit here and be like, oh, well, I think the Vikings are going to have this player and this player injured, so I'm going to put the Packers ahead of them. I just got to look at like the team right now. Easily, Harrison Smith and Everson Griffin could get hurt, and the Packers could win that division by 2 games. Yeah. Easily. Like, it could easily happen.
And so that's just unlikely to happen. I mean, you can go a whole year without an injury. It's unlikely to happen next year. I'm not saying it's not gonna.
Dude, someone's going to get hurt. Yeah. It's football. There's no way that whole team is going to go 32 games straight without a player getting hurt.
And like I've said, I should have mentioned this beforehand. Just last year in general, and I've said this on the podcast, it really just felt like the stars aligned with this team. Everything went their way. Aaron Rodgers got hurt. They ran away with that division, like we just said. They had no injuries defensively. It just felt like it. Really, they got I shouldn't say all the breaks in the book. But
that was the brick wall right there.
And then their biggest win, unfortunately, like what Colin Cowherd said, was a miracle. They shouldn't have even been in that NFC Championship game, and they were there. And we saw what happened. They were way too, amped after that game and were flat, and Philadelphia destroyed them. And then I look at their schedule. It's very difficult. They start with 3 road games in their first 5 games. At Green Bay, at the Rams, and at Philadelphia within their first 5 games. Then they have to go to the Jets later. They have to go to the Jets. They have to go to New England. They have to go to Seattle. And other than Green Bay, I haven't even said the other 2 division games. And like I said, that's a very competitive division. And then San Francisco at home to start the year. A insanely hot Jimmy Garoppolo coming into Minnesota. I could see an upset there. But this team... I don't think 13-3 is likely. It could easily happen. I'm not going to say it, though. I could see 10-6, roughly, but we're going to get into division records next. But first place, to no one's surprise, I am rolling with my Green Bay Packers just because I think the schedule is very favorable. They open at home, Chicago and Minnesota, their first 2 games.
You guys are going to start like 7-1 or something like that. I looked at your schedule.
Their first 6 games are Chicago, Minnesota, at Washington, Buffalo, at Detroit, and San Francisco. I think that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Winning literally all those games.
All those games are winnable. The early bye week, and then it's at the Rams. Probably a loss, but coming off a bye week and a place that's not a very, very good home field advantage.
I wouldn't. Coming off a bye week, a bad team can beat a really good team.
So I just think the schedule's favorable, and then they even have some games to end the year at home: Detroit, Arizona, Atlanta. They finally get Atlanta in a time where it favors them in December. But so obviously the biggest reason though is Aaron Rodgers coming back healthy. I think he's gonna obviously be an MVP candidate. You've mentioned this before that you don't like their run game. I think it's actually pretty good.
The Packers?
Yeah. It's nothing great. It wasn't anything great last year. I think it could be because 2 of these 3 guys on their 53-man roster were rookies last year.
I'm not a fan of the Packers offense in general. I'm not a fan. I don't like how they pretty much make Aaron Rodgers use wide receivers, which is fine because he's fucking amazing at it. But it's like, dude, the running back and tight end would get you so many more easy first downs and so many more easy yards. And just, dude, it's like he has to throw like a 25-yard fucking perfect seam route under the safety over the linebacker to get a first down.
I thought you were going to say...
Why can't he throw a swing to Jones? Is that your running back now? Aaron Jones?
Jones, Williams, Montgomery, those 3.
Yeah, swing it to Jones and let him get 8 yards. Like, I'm not a big fan. I used to really like Mike McCarthy. I'm getting a little sour on him. I think you guys could use a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan up there, and Aaron Rodgers would throw for 5,500 yards and 50 touchdowns.
I will say this, though. How much of that... You're obviously a big critic of McCarthy. How much of it, though, is Aaron just being Aaron, just being an ad-libber? Maybe McCarthy, that's not how he drew it up, but Aaron does it anyway.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. I hear your point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Aaron Rodgers makes it work, obviously, but it's if he had something, I don't know, man. Even the Eagles, like, I don't think that Doug Peterson's on the level of Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, but like even that type of creativity, like with the RPOs and Carson Wentz throws to the tight end every time. Like that's why his wide receivers get 600.
That's one thing. This is the best tight end group I've seen in Green Bay for a very long time. You got Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, and Lance Kendricks.
Good,
pretty good. You. But so talking about the rest of Green Bay, the one thing I think Green Bay does better than anybody, except maybe Philadelphia, is plug and playing dudes on the offensive line and getting good production out of them. They're not I wouldn't say they're the best offensive line in the NFL, but when you look at where these dudes were drafted, you would not think they're as good of an offensive line as they are. David Bakhtiari, starting left tackle, all-pro player, 4th-round pick. Lane Taylor, starting left guard, undrafted free agent. Starting center, Corey Linsley, all-pro caliber player, 5th-round pick. Starting right guard, Justin McCray, undrafted free agent. Starting right tackle, Brian Bulaga, who could very well, this could be his last season in Green Bay, is the only first-round pick on this offensive line.
That's impressive, dude. Because that is a good offense. They are a top 6 or 7 offensive line in the whole NFL.
And that's what I think they do better than anybody is plug-and-play dudes on the offensive line. Defensively, like you said, they finally, praise Jesus, got rid of Dom Capers as defensive coordinator, brought in Mike Pettin. Good defensive coach. His specialty is pass defense, and that's where Green Bay has struggled the last few years. I can already tell the dudes like him. Mike Daniels can't praise him enough as a defensive mind. But defensive line, like you said, pretty good. Mike Daniels, Kenny Clark is only 22 years old. He's a starting nose tackle. Green Bay drafted him when he was 20.
It's impressive as well.
Yeah, and he's improved every year. I think he's going to have a breakout season. Then they added Muhammad Wilkerson, and then There are two dudes on the defensive line that don't even start, Montravius Adams from Auburn and Dean Lowry from Northwestern. Lowry's pretty impressive. We didn't see Montravius Adams last year. He got hurt as a rookie, so we'll see how that goes. The biggest issue with this defense is pass rush. Obviously, you mentioned Clay Matthews is a shell of what he used to be, although I think he can still get after the passer pretty well. But he's at this stage where you don't want him to be the number one guy. You want a younger guy, and they just don't have it. Nick Perry had a 12 sack season a year or two ago. He hasn't done it since. And then their inside linebackers, I like them more than you. Blake Martinez is a 3-down guy. Jake Ryan is pretty good, but he just got hurt today. Who knows what's going to happen there? And then secondary, that's been their weakness the last few years. And
could be a strength.
It's likely going to be a strength. HaHa Clinton-Dix is a stud. You got Josh Jones at strong safety, who was pretty good as a rookie last year. He's probably, with Kentrell Bryce hurt, he's probably going to be the starting strong safety now. And then cornerback-wise, they added, like you said, Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson. I actually read this week they were putting Jair Alexander at slot corner, which I think he's perfect for.
Quick.
Josh Jackson, I think, will eventually be the starting outside corner. I don't think he's going to at the beginning of the year. But I mentioned this. I don't know if you heard me. They already got Kevin King there, who was hurt last year as a rookie, but when he was in, he performed well. They also added Tramon Williams, even though he's old. He's performed well since leaving Green Bay.
He'll probably start here.
What's that?
Williams will probably start on the outside for the first few games.
Yeah. He's just the guy I would want these. I mean, there are three dudes in that group, 4 dudes in this group who are like first or second year players, and you got Tramon Williams and Devon House there to, proven veterans who can show them the ropes. Something you would want.
Sure.
But so that's our divisions, the way we rounded out. So let's go ahead and do predictions. And you had the Minnesota Vikings winning the. Oh, before I mention this, before I do that though, one more thing about Green Bay. This division, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, is going to come down to Green Bay or Minnesota. One thing of note, they get Minnesota week 2 at home. You don't think Aaron Rodgers has that game circled after Anthony Barr bounced him last year? He's going to dial it up. Then they get Minnesota. You think, at Minnesota, they're probably going to lose that game. They get 10 days to prepare for the game in Minnesota in November because they have a Thursday night game the week before. Just throwing it out there. Just something to think about.
No, that's a big deal. That is a big deal.
But, let's go ahead. And Minnesota Vikings, your record prediction. Go ahead.
I do apologize, but, they went 13-3 last year. They didn't lose anybody, and they improved in 2 positions, and they're both pretty important. They got a better quarterback, and they're going to get Dalvin Cook back, who looked like a freaking stud the first few weeks of last year. It's like I said, it's barring injuries. Every year a team gets hit with the injury bug. A few teams get hit with the injury bug. It could easily be, Philly and Minnesota. Who knows? I mean, they lose a few players and they just, they have a bad season. That could easily be the Vikings. I got them at 13-3 though. I'll go 12-4. I'll go 12-4. Going 13-3 in the NFL is really.
I think 13-3 in the NFC is not going to happen this year.
Yeah, so I'll go 12-4 there. Packers, I'm going to go 11-5.
Okay.
Still, just roster-wise, it's just not there. Aaron Rodgers is the ultimate who gives a shit about your roster player, so who knows? I mean, he might come back. He's probably feeling great. He's, hasn't really played football in a while, so he probably feels amazing. I got them at 11-5. I got the Lions at 8-8. I got the Lions at 9-7 because honestly, I like the Lions. I really like Matt Stafford. I like Matt Stafford more than most people. I think as a quarterback talent, he's another player who could benefit from having a decent roster for once in his career, just one time. Give him a running game and a decent defense just once, and I bet you he'd win 11 games. He's that good. I think he's top 7 or 8 quarterback in the league, maybe higher, depending on his team. And lastly, I have the Bears. They, 7-9. I think they're going to have a, pretty decent. What that would be 3 wins jump. They were 4-12 last year.
I think they went 5-11.
5-11.
6-10. One of the other. It would be an improvement either way.
Yeah. So I see them improving it 2 to 3 games off last year, but they'll be a really good 4th place team who's on the rise. I see them making the playoffs, possibly depending on what Mr. Trubisky does this year.
Make sure your finger's off the microphone.
My bad.
It's all good. All right, so like I said, I don't think a team in the NFC this year, unless something crazy happens. I don't think there's going to be a team in the NFC this year who goes 13-3. I think we're looking at a team who gets the the home field advantage in the postseason could be 12-4. And maybe like the second place team in the NFC goes 11-5 or 10-6. I think it's going to be that kind of a year. There's a lot of parity. But I'm going with my Packers at 11-5. I've said that kind of all off season. But honestly, when I looked at the schedule, I had a hard time coming up with 5 losses, if I'm being honest. With a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think that's very manageable. But I'll say that they go 11-5 regardless. I don't know where those losses will come. They're usually not a very good team on the road, so maybe they'll drop some games on the road. But in second, I actually do have the Minnesota Vikings taking a step back at, I'll say 10-6. I don't feel great about that, but they could potentially be a 10-6 team and not make the playoffs. They could also be, 13-3, like you said, if they don't get hurt, but that's unlikely to happen. Third place, I have the Detroit Lions at 7-9. We'll see what happens with Matt Patricia. I like Matt Stafford like you. Problem is he's in a division where there's a stacked roster and Aaron Rodgers, so that's going to be tough. And his roster just isn't that good. He doesn't have if you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers, you got to have a pass rush. Detroit doesn't have a pass rush. If you're going to beat Minnesota, you got to have a good offensive line, I'd say, and they don't have one. So, and then lastly, the Chicago Bears. You're saying really 7-9. I'm not going that high. I'm going to say about 6-10. Really depends on Trubisky.
Yeah, like I said, dude. If he just was actual bum and just didn't improve at all off last year, I could see him going 3-13.
I don't know about that. They do have a good roster, but Trubisky, I don't think. I mean, he started how many games last year? I don't think he threw more than 2 touchdowns in any game.
He didn't throw 2 in any game.
Yeah. I know they didn't have the best
I look at it like this. He's probably going to lose out in his own division.
What do you mean, like lose all 6 games in the division? Nah, I don't think that. They usually sneak up on somebody at home.
We'll see.
I mean, I think they could easily beat Detroit at home, but we'll see. Just a first-year head coach, Mike Nagy, essentially not a rookie quarterback, but a second-year quarterback. They're relying. I think they're asking a lot of Allen Robinson, who's coming off a knee injury and really hasn't been the same player since 2015. So
yeah. Kevin White.
Yeah, they're asking a lot of Kevin White, who just cannot stay healthy.
Poor guy.
Seriously, you want to talk about bad luck? It's Kevin White. Every single year, he's got a knee injury or a shin injury some sort of leg injury that ends the season.
Yeah. Well, I know the damn Phillies just decided to lose 3 in a row to the Reds. So that's cool.
It 3 in a row? Really?
Yeah.
I thought they won one.
They won it was a 4-game series.
It was a 4-game. That's big for the Reds. They're playing well.
Kirk split him. But all right, brother. That's the NFC North. When's the NFC East?
I think that's the last one. Let me check and see what's next.
Nah, NFC South is the last one.
Yeah, you're right. Let me check our text messages. Let me see what's next here. All right. So we just did the NFC North. The NFC East is second to last. So next up is the AFC West. You live with Artis. He's the only AFC West fan I know. Let's try to get him on.
Okay.
He lives right next door to you. The room next door. All right, man.
Brother.
Yep. Always a pleasure talking football.
You and the second-place Packers have a good one?
Could very well happen.
Nah, it might not. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right. See you later, buddy.
Later. Talk to you tomorrow.